So did you guys do the homework? Everybody didn't send me an email, huh? I was waiting for an email from each one of you. Okay. But are those 2 pages clear?
To me they are clear, but what I was thinking is, this is something very silly, but I think when the Brahma created this world, and he created us, right? One became many. At that time, we don't have any vasanas or any concepts or anything. So we are just there, lying in the cosmic consciousness. So in us, a desire came to experience. So then that is when through the channel God entered into, like God or consciousness entered, the prana entered, I don't know, in the subtle body, and this is all something I cannot explain. I was just.
Are you explaining to me or are you asking me a question?
Is that how it happened?
Okay, that is your question. Let's imagine a pool of consciousness. Absolutely nothingness. Okay? Nothingness means nothingness. It cannot even be described. It doesn't have an experience. It is a non-experience, if I'm allowed to use that word. Yeah? It's a non-experience, whatever, pool. Yeah? A page is actually missing here. If you do the thicker Vasistha's book, yeah, this one, there is an extra page. Yeah? And that page says that there is pure existence in the beginning. They don't call it Brahman consciousness. They call it pure existence. That pure existence is non-experience. Yes? And that in that pure existence, there is no two. It is Advait. Yes? It is unity, complete unity. That's all that is there. In that pure existence, movement of prana is inherent. Like in water, flow or wave is inherent. It is a part of it. It is water. Like that only, movement of prana is inherent. Now, just because in the ocean or in the pond, the waves are rising and falling, yeah, there is a homogeneity of waves. You understand homogeneity? Yes, there is a homogeneous rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. Yes, but when there is one particular rising and falling, this gives rise to an individual consciousness. And Maya is the nature of individual consciousness. Do you get it? Movement of prana is inherent to pure existence, and individual consciousness, Maya, is inherent. Yes? So this individual consciousness will say or feel I. It has that feeling of individuality. Yes? It can let go of that feeling of I. I made it too explicit, but it's not so explicit as an I yet. It is just that sense or notion of individuality. That is called the movement in consciousness. So movement in prana, when it comes into the correct channel of the consciousness, that individual consciousness, yes, there is movement in consciousness, as in a recognition of individuality. Now this individuality can recognize its nature and go back down and dissolve into the homogeneity. But it has desire of experience. Yes, that desire of experience, it can either go this way, move on to that desire of experience, or go back to homogeneity. Yeah? It chooses to go towards desire of experience and says, I want to be water, or I want to be earth, or I want to be air. Yes, that first I, that separation of I and you happens. That is the birth of mind. Yes, and that birth of mind, of course, leads to the world appearance. The moment I am born, you are born. Is it clear? Better? Not yet?
Yeah, better. Better. I have to think about it more. I have the bigger book too. I will try to read that.
In that, this explanation is not more for this. I just told you the explanation of pure existence from that. That's it.
How individual consciousness came out here.
No. That is,
How individual I came about.
yeah. It isn't, how much is here is there in that. Not extra. The only extra thing is, they call this pure existence, what we have been calling Brahman consciousness till now. Yes, only that part is extra. So let's again revise. Yeah. In the beginning, there is just pure existence. In this pure existence, movement of prana is inherent. Yes. Because of movement of prana, there is movement in consciousness. Individual consciousness arises. Yes. In this individual consciousness, the seed of desire for experience is there, because Maya is inherent in this consciousness. At that point of time, this individual consciousness can choose to ignore this desire for experience and go back into homogeneity, go into pure existence. Yes, but if it gives into Maya, then you come into existence. Either there is an obstinate fancy to I. Obstinate fancy is nothing but I. Yes, so there's an obstinate fancy to I, and then the mind is born. I want to be water, I want to be air, I want to be earth, whatever. Yes. This desire for experience, the other way also is through the prana. Yes. The prana keeps vibrating in that particular channel as the channel of your pranic body. So this, I didn't talk to you last week, but I had this conversation with Nitesh. You remember I spoke about the subtle body about 5-6 sessions ago, and there was this diagram of the subtle body with all the nadis running through the subtle body. Yes, that nadis, that channels running through that body are called the pranic body. So before the birth of the mind, the pranic body is born. Yes, this pranic body is born how? By that movement of prana coinciding with your channels in the individual consciousness. Yeah, so that pranic body is born, and that pranic body gets even more energized or strengthened by the movement of prana, which in turn gives birth to the mind. The mind is born out of it because it senses that motion in prana. It's like you taking your first breath in and then recognizing I am or I exist. That's how the mind is born, out of that movement of prana in the pranic body. So pranic body is born first and then the subtle body is born. Does that answer your question on channels? Sakul, you had this question last week.
Yeah, but that answers the question. But in this one, the reason that we can go back into the consciousness in the homogeneity is because of the knowledge.
Because of recognition that this is my nature. That the wave being a part of the ocean, this is my nature. Yeah, that.
But like suppose we come out and the mind is born, and then it is the knowledge that helps us to restrain the prana and restrain our mind, and helps to get the mind. And so that basically that experience of that knowledge will help not to be born again, not to when we go back into the consciousness.
Perfect.
Not to get the mind again go back into the homogeneous things. So the reason I came out of that is because I didn't have knowledge, and there were like few chapters before there was like two examples that I don't remember the pages or something, that somebody produces a pure consciousness, and then the other guy says that because it is pure, they don't have knowledge, they will get verdicts. As they get word experience, we can defeat them. And so then so initially they were not able to defeat that consciousness. Some kind of Robert, I don't forgot the name.
Yeah.
I remember. Is that the same example that?
I remember. Yeah. Go on.
But like when everything is pure in the beginning and there is no knowledge at all, then the things are coming as mind. Maybe like it is difficult to explain. It's trying to basically explain something as a linear thing which is not linear.
Perfect. That's what even last week Ghazal brought out. No? It's a spherical thinking. Basically, there is no beginning. There is really no beginning like this. This is like the beginning of a dream. And then we are analyzing how the dream began, how Sakul lied down, went to sleep, how that first thought came, how that thought translated into a dream. We are actually analyzing something like that. Yes? But it is beyond analysis. Yes? It is really spherical thinking. It's not possible to analyze this beyond a certain point. I told you this last week also.
This is my lame attempt at linearizing something which is spherical.
Correct.
So this is just for you. You're welcome. So let's take an example about, like, this is a drastic example, but I think it's relevant here. So let's take an example of addiction to drugs. Okay. Now every person has a potentiality to become addicted to drugs. Okay, you can parallelly think about this, that when we are in the pool of consciousness in the homogeneous state, we have this potentiality to
Does that answer your question, Sakul?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Got it?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Sometimes, even as a child, you don't need to be educated. Yeah. Otherwise, you will start saying again towards Mitesh's example that, oh, but I have been educated that drugs are bad for me. No. Yeah. Even if somebody is not educated, very simple person living in a very simple background, does not have, any resources to even TV to educate him. Forget education, forget going to school. Such people might not even have that inclination to get drawn into drugs or alcohol. Not having the inclination at all is that level of being in pure existence. Got it? So basically till here it is clear now. Yeah, the movement of prana, obstinate fancy, leads to mind, and mind leads to world appearance. Yes? World appearance is nothing but all the physical bodies and the notion of separation, diversity. Yeah? Or concepts in your head that this is man, this is animal, this is plant. That diversity that you see is world appearance. Clear? This slide is clear? He explained this last week. I don't know how much you can see this. There's a movement in prana. The movement in prana does what? When the channels meet, as in the pranic body, if you want to say the channels meet, the individual consciousness is awakened. Yes? The individual consciousness still has a chance to go back to its homogeneity. Yes? But it does not. So what happens? Homogeneity of consciousness is disturbed. Why? Because now this individual consciousness says, I am separate. That individuality is born. Consciousness experiences diversity. The moment I is born, you is born. Yes? Then there is movement of thought. So movement of thought is born out of movement of prana. Are you getting this? So the moment there is movement of thought, I, you, I want this, I am like this, I am not this, basic movement of thought again materializes into mind, subtle body. This is the beginning of Yoga Vasistha, first few pages that you read. Yeah, the subtle body is born. This subtle body now has concepts and notions, and that feeds into prana. And then the movement of prana is strengthened, and again that keys into the individual consciousness, and the cycle continues. That is how our mind functions now. So now today also I am lost in this. Yes, my mind says, oh, I like this, I don't like this. Yes, this affects your prana. Now how this affects your prana, this also is very interesting. Like I was telling Mitesh, suppose there are two rooms. The wall between the two rooms is very thin. Yeah, absolutely thin. So thin that on one side if you put a magnet and move it up and down and up and down, on the other side you put iron filings, they will move with the magnet up and down, correct? This magnet is nothing but your prana. This prana moves up and down in your pranic body. Yes, the movement of prana affects your subtle body on this side. movement of thought is the ion filings. Yes, and if you can imagine a three-dimensional wall, on the third side is your physical body. So movement in prana also affects your breath. Yes, that is why we do pranayam. What is pranayam? Regulation of prana through breath. How can prana get regulated through breath? Because of this thin wall. Got it? Now it's not a two-dimensional wall, it's like a three-dimensional wall. Pranic body, subtle body and physical body. Yes, the magnet of prana is so strong on one side that it affects the breath on the physical body and it affects the movement of thought on the subtle body side. Clear? Yeah. So that's how they feed into each other. Movement of thought will lead to movement of prana. Again, that is movement of individual consciousness. You still have a chance to let go of that negativity, that negative thought that has arisen in you. But you choose to act on that negative thought because of the diversity of I and you. How dare you say that to me? And then there is more mind, and that means notions, conditioning. This continuous chain leads to conditioning. Now here mind becomes conditioning, notions, concepts, limitation as the chain goes round and round and round. Got it? How it works? Yeah. So recognize this thing in you. When you do a very good pranayam someday, have you noticed your mind calms down? Yeah. Not just the mind, the rajas and tamas in you calms down. There is sattva. There is that light feeling. That light feeling is the feeling of prana. The mind calming down is happening at the subtle body level, and the breath has relaxed your physical body. So you see, at the physical body, at the subtle body and pranic body, you are connected. It all happens together. That is how pranayam works. Got it? So those of you who have been doing the kriya and skipping the pranayam, it's absolutely wrong. Yeah, you better do a good pranayam. Very, very important. Yes, 3-stage pranayam and Bhastrika pranayam. Both are pranayams. Yes, they help you calm down. They bring that sattva, and then through the emotions you are letting out all, through your breath you are letting out all the emotions in kriya, in the breathing. Yes.
Why is Kriya not pranayam?
It is. If you look at the description, we did about 3-4 sessions ago, it is nothing but a form of pranayam. Yes, but Gurudev does not call it pranayam, so I will just call it kriya. Yeah, but according to Vasistha's definition, it is a form of pranayam. Yeah? Meditation is just being. Yeah? Just being. That's why kriya cannot fall under meditation, because you're not just being. Yeah, if you had to just be, you wouldn't unnaturally regulate the flow of breath. Got it? Just being is being a witness to what is. Yes, that is why meditation is done after kriya. Yeah, where you either lie down. That is only in the initial phases. When you've just started out of living, we say, okay, you lie down. But now you become an expert. You can just sit after long kriya. Yeah, and just sit and be. That is the true state of sakshi. Yes, and in that state, if you can completely get rid of these notions, thoughts, conditioning, all this mind, yeah, when this stops, this also stops. Have you noticed you don't breathe for some time after long kriya? Yeah? Suddenly awareness comes and you start breathing. Yeah? So for some time, breath has stopped, movement of prana has stopped, and movement of thought has stopped. That is the time you're closest to pure existence, which is Brahman consciousness. Now you understood how pranayam works. So no skipping pranayam. Yeah. So this I think is explained on this page. If you are clear now of what we did in the past 2 pages, can we go ahead? Clear now? Okay. Who will start reading page 220?
Rama asked, "Holy sir,
Loudly, we can't hear you.
how?"
Loudly, we can't hear you.
Rama asked, "Holy sir, kindly tell me how one may quickly destroy all these seeds of distraction and reach the supreme state." Vasistha said, "These seeds of sorrow, O Rama, can each be destroyed by destruction of the previous one. But if you can at one stroke cut off all mental conditioning and by great self-effort rest in the state of pure existence, if you rest in that state even for a second, in no time you will be established in it. If, for however, you wish merely to find your foothold in pure existence, you can achieve it by even greater effort. Similarly, by contemplating the infinite consciousness too, you can rest in the supreme state, but that demands greater effort."
Okay. These seeds of sorrow. These are all seeds of sorrow. You remember, right? The seed for world appearance is the mind. The mind has 2 seeds, movement of prana and obstinate fancy. Yes? For both obstinate fancy and movement of prana, there is only one seed, desire for experience. Yes? The seed for the desire for experience is the consciousness itself. Yeah? Here, consciousness means individual consciousness. And that the seed of that is the pure existence. And there is no seed for pure existence. If you are looking for one, it is beginningless. Yeah? It is causeless. There is no cause for pure existence. So these are seeds. Now he's saying, these seeds of sorrow, O Rama, can each be destroyed by destruction of the previous one. If you want to destroy world appearance, you have to destroy the mind. If you want to destroy obstinate fancy, if you want to destroy the mind, you have to destroy obstinate fancy and movement of prana. Got it? If you want to destroy obstinate fancy, movement of prana, you have to destroy its seed, which is desire for experience. This is where you have to start working. Because you can't do anything to consciousness and you cannot do anything to pure existence. Correct? So till where can you go? Till here. Desire for experience. This desire that comes up in you, and this desire that translates into either a raga or a dvesha, is something you need to look into. And how does desire for experience come? From the notion of an object, not from the object itself. From the notion of an object. What is the meaning of notion of an object? What does notion mean?
Previous experience, the vasana of previous experience. Concept.
Just that false feeling inside you saying that this will give me pleasure is the notion of that particular object. Yeah? Piece of chocolate cake. The object is not the problem. It's my notion inside me that that piece of chocolate cake will give me pleasure. Really, you eat that chocolate cake and you're like, yuck, horrible chocolate cake. Yeah? But the notion inside me was what? I am going to get pleasure from that piece of chocolate cake. Similarly, I have a notion about somebody I do not like in life. Oh, I hate the face of this person. I don't want to see him. Just that notion inside me that I am going to experience pain if I see him or her. This actually brings pain to me. It's not the object, it's really not the person. It's the notion inside me. Got it? It's a false feeling that I have kind of generated, I have cultivated inside me. Understood notion of an object? Yes, it's really not the object. Homework number 1 for you. You recognize how many such notions you have. It could be notion towards things like chocolate cake and car and money, maybe a house. It could be a notion towards a person, and this person could be, a painful person for you or a pleasurable. You check. And it could be for a situation also. So recognize all these false feelings that you are harboring within you. It is that notion that is the problem. That notion is called desire for experience. Is this clear? This is where you can work. Yeah? So he's saying, these seeds of sorrow, O Rama, can each be destroyed by destruction of the previous one. Yeah? But if you can at one stroke cut off all the mental conditioning, everything, even this individual consciousness is a mental conditioning really. Yeah? Because individual, I is born at this level. In one stroke, if you are strong enough to cut all of this, O Rama, by great self-effort, then you will rest in pure existence. If you rest in this state even for 1 second, in no time you will be established in it. Yeah? So the first method is to cut all of them in one stroke. Quite difficult, right? So he says there's another way. However, you wish merely to find your foothold in pure existence. I don't look at all my notions and my ragas and dveshas and fears. I don't look at all this. I don't even look at my ego, which is the cause for this individual consciousness. I just focus on the Purusha and be established in that Purusha, and that Purusha is in him, is in her, is in her, him, her. It's in this tree, in this little potted plant, in this computer, in this table. Oh, it's everywhere. Just being established in that pure existence is the second way. Then also you can get liberated. Of course, greater self-effort is required. Third way he is saying, by contemplating the infinite consciousness. Here, this individual consciousness. Yeah? What is the difference between this consciousness and pure existence? In pure existence, you see it everywhere. Yeah, it's Brahman consciousness. Here in individual consciousness, you see, oh, I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not this intellect, I am not this memory, I am not this ego. Oh, I am the self, I am that light. That will also take you there. So this is the third method, individual consciousness. Second method is directly in pure existence, being established there. And the first method is cutting all of this and then coming to pure existence. Got the three methods explained in the first paragraph? Homework number 2. What of these three methods appeals to you? You have done Patanjali, Narada, Ashtavakra, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita. So you've got a strong understanding of these three methods. We have explained them again and again in different ways through all these scriptures. Which one really appeals to you? Not intellectually appealing, huh? What takes you into meditation faster? Like that, like a click. Yes, that only you will know. Nobody else can go inside Ghazal and know what appeals to Ghazal. Nobody else can go inside Aruna and know what appeals to Aruna. Yeah? So homework number 2, you recognize your particular method. Yeah? I will read the second paragraph.
Meditation is not possible on objects of experience, for they exist only in consciousness or the self. But if you strive to destroy the conditioning, the concepts, notions, habits, etc., then in a moment all your errors and illnesses will vanish. However, this is more difficult than the ones described earlier. For until the mind is free from the movement of thought, cessation of conditioning is difficult and vice versa. And unless the truth is realized, the mind does not cease to function, and vice versa. Yet again, until the conditioning ceases, the unconditioned truth is not realized, and vice versa. Since realization of truth, cessation of the mind, and the ending of the conditioning are interwoven, it is extremely difficult to deal with them individually and separately. Hence, O Rama, by every means in your power, renounce the pursuit of pleasure and resort to all three simultaneously. If all these are simultaneously practiced for a considerable time, they become fruitful, not otherwise. O Rama, this world appearance has been experienced as truth for a long, very long time, and it needs persistent practice of all these three simultaneously to overcome it.
Okay. So he says, basically cutting down all the notions, all the conditionings. Yeah, it requires a great effort, but in a moment, all your errors and illnesses will vanish. So basically, here Vasistha himself is recommending that method of cutting down all conditionings, all notions. Yes, working on the desire for experience. We are starting in the middle of the paragraph now. For until the mind is free from the movement of thought, cessation of conditioning is difficult, and vice versa. So basically, mental conditioning cessation, yeah, unless you achieve that, The mind will not become free from the movement of thought. Yeah? And the mind cannot become free from the movement of thought unless mental conditioning ceases. Yeah? So you'll be like, oh, so which one begins first? Wait, the mystery is not over yet. Realization of truth cannot be achieved without the cessation of the mind. And cessation of the mind will not happen without the realization of the truth. Like, oh, one more added here. Wait, it's not over. Third, mental conditioning cannot cease without the realization of the truth. And realization of the truth cannot be achieved without the mental conditioning ceasing. You have to work on all three simultaneously. What are the three? Cessation of mental conditioning, realization of the truth, and cessation of the mind. All three have to be done simultaneously. You cannot pick and choose what you like. It doesn't work. So what is the meaning of cessation of mental conditioning? Now you tell me. What is mental conditioning?
You and me and all the emotions, likes and dislikes, the concept.
Yes, concepts in the mind, notions in the mind. I like this, I am like this, I am not like this, she is like this, he is like this thing works like this thing does not work like this. Notions in my mind which have become very strong. That has become my mental conditioning. I operate like that. Yes. And when I operate repeatedly like that, it becomes a habit pattern. And that repetition of habit pattern becomes a characteristic of Ekta. Did you get it? A notion or thought, once repeated, leads to habit. This habit, you continue, don't let go. What will happen? It becomes my character. Yes? That is mental conditioning. Yeah. For example, I'll tell you one very simple example. When we were growing up in India, everybody told you, oh, medicine or engineering is the way. There is no other way. Oh, if you want a good name in society, you want to be somebody important, medicine or engineering. Yes, again and again, this little thought, this little notion is beaten into your head. Yeah, you're a small little mind. Yeah, still growing up, still not, strong in your notions. But this impression has been formed, then you feed into it. Oh yes, this is the way, this is the way. Then even if you are not made for medicine or engineering, you push your way through. Yeah, lots of you have gone through that experience, have told me this, so I'm sharing this experience. So you push your way through, you think, oh, this was the way because, everybody said so. Then slowly you moved out of the environment where the impressions were put. You started developing your own logical thinking. And then you've come to this conclusion today that no, there are many more fields than medicine and engineering. Yes. So 20 years ago, there was an impression. Very strong conditioning had happened. Yes. But slowly, I let go of this impression, this notion, this concept. And that's how this new impression of opening up happened. Clear? I give you a very simple, harmless example which applies to most of you, as most of you are in IT. Yeah? But you apply it more to your personal life. where mental conditioning has happened to you. Yeah? And naturally also cessation of that mental conditioning has happened. Like you've given up this idea of engineering or medicine is the only way to go and artists are all losers. You've given up that idea. Yes? So that mental conditioning has ceased. Yes? You don't think that artists are all losers anymore. I'm just throwing out an example. Yeah? So you see lots of your mental conditioning has ceased. But taking this up as a purushartha, I recognize step number 1, I have this mental conditioning and I am holding on to these concepts. Yes. And then second, letting go, dropping. Yes. I give you a very simple example which will hurt nobody's ego. But you have to take on examples which actually hurt you. Things that poke you, things that you love and you don't want to let go. That is a mental conditioning. Things that you hate, you are still holding on to it. That is a mental conditioning. Got it? Understood cessation of mental conditioning? Yes? All the concepts and notions that I have formed in my mind. Doesn't matter if it has been formed because of my environment or my social circle or my society, but I am the reason that it is harbored here. I am holding it in my mind. I have to let go. Clear? Second is realization of the truth. What is the realization of the truth?
It's all fleeting.
Everything is temporary. Nothing is permanent. Nothing. Getting established in this means what? Means the most difficult situation can come up in your life. Suddenly you are bankrupt. Suddenly all your money is gone. Everything is gone. Yeah? In that horrible situation, being able to smile and say, this is temporary. This will also pass. Yes, your graph does not go up and down with pain and pleasure. Yes, there is an equanimity, and that equanimity is with this firm understanding everything is temporary. Not because Guruji says it, not because Ekta says it, but because I understand it. That Swabhava Jnana is called realization. Not reading the truth, not listening to it, realizing. Got it? And what is the third? Cessation of the mind means what? Where does the mind begin?
No movement of thought.
Okay.
Movement of thought.
Movement of thought begins where? What is the seed? We just did in the previous slide.
Desire.
Desire for experience. Complete cessation. No desire. You become like a puppet. Just be. Yeah? If that string pulls me right, I go right. If that string pulls me left, I go left. I am just at the mercy of the string. No desire for experience. Just being with what is. That is the cessation of mind. It cannot be achieved otherwise. Yes, Akul?
So is there some kind of a notion in us that forces us to do all
perfect. So if you remember, in the first 10 pages we had read about pure Vasana and impure Vasana. Do you remember that? When Rama was very despondent, in his despair he was talking about it. Impure Vasana is that which drives you through to this material world. Beautiful girl, lovely house, car, I want. Yeah, all this is impure Vasana. Yes, when you come onto the spiritual path, the impure Vasana is replaced by a pure Vasana. What is pure Vasana? I want liberation, I want enlightenment, I want knowledge. Yes, I want to be with the Guru. This is pure Vasana, but it is still Vasana. Got it? Beautiful, very good. You have to get rid of not just pure Vasana. In pure Vasana, you have to get rid of pure Vasana even. Both is desire for experience. Got it?
So, when you said, right, mental conditioning, sometimes we are not aware of what all conditioning, like, the example that you gave was very, very appropriate. We are not even aware that it is not our conditioning. Like, someone was telling us, and then because someone was telling us, then you started finding artists who are not making enough money, and then let's see, this is what happens to artists. That you started reinforcing a conditioning that was given by someone else.
Yes.
So in order to understand like what all are areas of their lives, like spiritual goals or fitness goals or social, all these things, right? The same thing, you can have different conditioning also. Like you can tabulate your conditioning per like political. People have, I am a Republican, I am a Democrat. Again, that is conditioning. I am a volunteer for Art of Living. Okay, some identification, pure, impure, it will all go in one or the other pocket of these tabulation. So that might help people if you don't realize. Okay, you can ask questions along those lines. And second, the cessation of mind. I was having this conversation with Mohit yesterday. It is very closely tied to seeking. But the reason that desire for experience comes up more and more is because we don't find joy in the banality of everyday living. The everyday simple things that we keep doing, we go to work, come back, make dinner, push to different, we want to experience something else, like we want to go on a vacation, we want to break this monotony. Whereas the joy lies in doing those things every day out, that's where the seeking and the boredom sets in, because we don't find joy in those small things. So if we start finding that joy even in holding this pen or doing simple things, then that seeking the seeds won't start sprouting.
The same as saying that find the joy that you are. You are joy. Stop looking for it in the object of experience. Yeah? When you don't look at it in that object, you won't desire for that object. Yeah? It's not external. The joy is within you anyways. So clear? These three are clear? Absolutely. Yeah? That's your homework number 3. Working on all of them simultaneously. Go ahead now.
Wise ones declare that the abandonment of conditioning and the restraint of prana are of equal effect. Hence, one should practice them simultaneously. Prana is restrained by the practice of pranayama and yogasana, as taught by the Guru or by other means. When desires, aversions, and cravings do not arise in the mind,
Okay.
It is not possible.
Wait. So here he's talking about both abandoning of conditioning and restraint of prana. They are of equal effect. Yeah. So again it goes back to how it started. Yeah. First there is movement of prana. From the movement of prana, the mind is born. Yeah. And then from the mind, the mental conditioning is born. Mental conditioning or fancy or world illusion. Yeah. You can see it. So how will you do this? For here, restraint of prana. Pranayam as taught by the Guru. Yes. And the second is by giving up conditioning. Now how conditioning has to be given up? This is very important. When desires and aversions don't even arise at the sight of an object or sound of an object or touch or taste or smell, then mental conditioning weakens. With that, wisdom will arise. And because of the wisdom, the mental conditioning will weaken further. And finally, the mind ceases. You've all gone through this. It's not that you have not gone through this. Yeah? For example, if you were addicted to chocolate or you were addicted to, I don't know, whatever, cigarette smoking, something, as a kid maybe you were addicted to chewing gum or eating mud from the wall. Yeah, something silly we were addicted to as kids. Yeah. Very strong that fancy was for eating that chewing gum or that mud or that chocolate, or kids chew at the end of the pencil. It's very tasty. Yeah? It's a conditioning which that kid has again and again with his habit pattern ingrained into himself. Yeah? Now even with that chocolate coming in front of you or that mud coming in front of you, you say, no, I don't want to do this. Or even that desire to eat it does not arise. Mental conditioning gets weakened. Yeah? Wisdom arises from it that this is not good for me. Mental conditioning gets weakened even further. Finally, that habit breaks off. Can you think of at least one bad habit from childhood that broke off? Yeah? That means your mind ceased there. For at least that one particular bad habit of eating mud or chocolate or crayons or whatever you did as a little kid. So you've all experienced it. Now that same experience you have to put into today's ragas and dveshas. Exactly same. Whatever ragas and dveshas I have, yeah, I have to work on weakening my mental conditioning related to them. Yeah, it could be a person. I see the person and I get so angry and I feel like abusing the person. Saying something nasty, poking the person's ego. Very strong conditioning. I have continued doing it for many years. Become a habit pattern. Now the moment I see the person, that fire starts, sparks, fireworks inside. It propels me into that direction of opening my mouth. You take a step back. Let that conditioning weaken. Don't give it strength. Yeah. The moment it weakens, wisdom will arise. See, I have let go of one particular dvesha for this person. Just this, see, I have let go of this dvesha. This sentence to yourself will make you feel so powerful, so strong that mental conditioning will weaken further. And then slowly, doing this a few more times, a time will come when you will not react to that person. There, the mind will cease for that particular conditioning. Got it? Now here, We worked on the conditioning, yes, with the wisdom, yeah, that this is good for me or bad for me, or I'm dropping this raga and dvesha. I use that wisdom that is related to realization of the truth, yes, and I worked on completely giving it up at cessation of the mind. All three together? Got it? You have to keep repeating this for every little raga or dvesha that you identify you have. So make a list right now where you are going to apply this formula. Take 2 minutes. It might be 10 people in your life. It will take 2 minutes to write down their names. It could be a situation, craving for a particular situation, craving for promotion in office. That could be one. Craving to have a particular thing. It's okay if I don't possess the latest, whatever, Apple phone, whatever has come out in the market. I'm not going to die without it. Let me see. If you have that craving for shopping, I'm not going to add fuel to the fire. I'm not going to do the shopping. Doesn't matter. Especially impulsive shopping. Oh, beautiful dress. I have to possess it. Observe. Let that conditioning weaken. Where can you apply this? Make that list right now. Done? Got at least a few? At least 5? Yeah? Leave the rest of the page blank. Keep adding to that list even later. Yeah? We'll read the last paragraph on this page now.
It is not possible to kill the mind without proper methods. Knowledge of the self, company of holy men, the abandonment of conditioning, and the restraint of prana are the means to overcome the mind. Ignoring these and resorting to violent practices like Hatha Yoga, austerities, pilgrimage, rites, and rituals is a waste of time. Self-knowledge alone bestows delight upon it. A man of self-knowledge alone lives. Let's gain self-knowledge, O Rama.
So, it is impossible to kill the mind. We were talking about cessation of the mind. It is impossible without 4 things. What are those 4? One is knowledge of the self. It's impossible. How much ever personality developmental classes you attend, if there is no understanding that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not the intellect that is judging right and wrong and good and bad and saying I am ugly or beautiful or saying I am intelligent or I am dumb. Yes, if I do not learn to disassociate from this, I will never be able to kill my mind. Yeah. So if you go to a personality development class, they will not have this, the knowledge of the self. Yeah. There you learn that you are this body and mind. Now you change that body and mind. Yeah. But it's very difficult. You can't change the way you look. You cannot change the particular patterns and mental conditionings in those few sessions of a personality developmental class. That is why the effect is very temporary there. Whatever you learn is only for a few days, it applies, the mind calms down, but you're back to the same. Your personality really does not change too much. Why? Because there is no disassociation with the personality. Personality belongs to body and mind. I am not the body and mind. Yes. The moment this disassociation happens, yes, you have got the true knowledge of the self. Got it? That is the only way to overcome the mind. There is no other shortcut. Got it? Knowledge of self. 2. Company of holy men. Who will give you the knowledge of the self? Only somebody who himself has reached there, no? Yeah. Only somebody who has walked this path, reached home, can take you home. That is the holy men. That is Gurudev. Yeah. The other saints like Ashtavakra, Patanjali, Lord Krishna. Yeah. The scriptures are nothing but that guiding path taking you home. Yeah. Now, how they do it? They did it with number 3, abandonment of conditioning. Yes. And number 4, restraint of prana. Got it? So, knowledge of the self is the real method. Yeah. Who teaches you this method? The holy men. Yeah. And what are the real steps? How to do it? How to actually reach that self? That goal is through abandonment of conditioning and restraint of prana. Restraint of prana is the different types of pranayams, regulating the breath. Yeah. And then going into that absolute silence called meditation. And second, abandonment of conditioning. Equally important, because the mind cannot cease without the conditioning ceasing. Clear? Absolutely. Any questions? Today we took a long time to do just one page, huh? Okay. So then I will not give you any more homework. Just go through this page. I have given you a lot of homework for this one page itself. Please send me that email with a summary of what you understand on all these 2-3 pages that we've done. And send me all this homework that I have given you today. Yeah? Okay. All set? Homework also all set? Yeah? So I'll see you next week. Guys, your exam is coming up, huh? So see that you start studying. Start making your flows, start making your notes. Yeah. Start reading again. I'll tell you your syllabus now only. It starts with page 176. Didn't you do your exam till 175? Till Prahlada's story? Yeah? From 176 it begins. Your syllabus. And it will go on till page 224. Yeah? So we have to still complete a few pages before we go into the exam. But start studying. Okay? Yes? and I will see you next week. Jai Gurudev.